Olá, boa tarde a todos. Sejam bem-vindos a mais um webinar promovido pela DG Lab para a Rede Nacional de Bibliotecas Públicas. Agradecer a presença de todos nesta tarde. Connosco hoje temos uma colega nossa do Canadá, Vickery Bowles, que nos vai falar sobre a sua experiência, aliás, uma das suas áreas de especialidade, relacionada com a visão estratégica associada às bibliotecas públicas. O título deste webinar é Transformar os serviços de bibliotecas públicas para o século XXI e connosco hoje temos Vickery Bowles, a quem eu naturalmente agradeço a disponibilidade e a vontade para poder estar connosco esta tarde. Tal como estava referido no formulário de dinamização aqui em baixo, a Vickery Bowles é bibliotecária no Serviço de Biblioteca Pública de Toronto, que disponibiliza cerca de serviços a mais de uma rede de 100 bibliotecas anexas, com uma presença também bastante forte online. Acredita naturalmente que o papel das bibliotecas públicas é fundamental na vida das comunidades e das cidades e neste momento está a trabalhar num projeto, num novo plano estratégico para as bibliotecas públicas de Toronto, que naturalmente inclui estratégias digitais de apoio a novos modelos de serviços, à área da literacia digital e que neste contexto ficou bem plasmado quão importante ela é, e naturalmente ao desenvolvimento de recursos humanos essenciais para poder implementar esta estratégia e à experiência do utilizador na área da inovação. A Vickery Bowles é ainda presidente do Conselho de Bibliotecas Urbanas em Washington e membro do Conselho Canadiano de Bibliotecas Urbanas, que integra também o Grupo de Trabalho das Trade Smart Cities da Região de Toronto. Aos colegas que, entretanto, se foram juntando, sejam bem-vindos. Pedir-vos que, no final, naturalmente, não se esqueçam de preencher o formulário de avaliação. Se quiserem colocar questões, podem-nas escrever durante a apresentação da Vickery e podem escrevê-las, naturalmente, em português ou em inglês, não tem problema, eu posso fazer a tradução mais tarde. Naturalmente, também, que todas as respostas por parte da Vickery serão em inglês. Em caso de necessidade, eu poderei também fazer uma curta tradução das respostas. Well, Vickery, introduction in Portuguese made. I will welcome you, of course, and I will thank you for your availability to do this webinar with us and to share your knowledge, your experience on transforming public library services for the 21st century. The stage is yours and the screen is yours. I will turn off my camera, but I will follow and listen with a lot of attention your presentation. When you want, you can start it. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Bruno, for that lovely introduction. And I just want to say that I'm absolutely delighted to be here today to speak to you about the ways in which we at Toronto Public Library are transforming and managing change in public library service for the 21st century, and how we're positioning ourselves to have really meaningful and lasting impact on the city and the residents we serve. So, of course, we are living in unprecedented times, and this is true for libraries as well. When I originally created this presentation, COVID-19 and global pandemics weren't on anyone's minds, but the whole idea of disruption and transformational change certainly was on our minds. So as I revisited the context for the discussion we're having today, to take into account our current context, much of what I have to say about transformational change in libraries remains even more relevant than ever. So, of course, we're also going to need to think and act differently now and in the months and years to come. And so that's certainly part of what we need to be thinking about. So this is a really exciting, very interesting time to be working in libraries. It's a time when many sectors are talking about the critical importance of the knowledge economy, where there's exponential change and technological disruption. And more than ever before, this is a time when public librarians and leaders, we all have to be change agents. We have to be collaborators who look beyond our traditional allies and partners and who actively challenge the status quo and build organizational capacity for innovation. And despite the challenges we faced, I have to say I'm really optimistic and excited about the future of public libraries. And I'm particularly excited about how libraries are being recognized as catalysts for our city's success and our neighborhood's resilience and renewal. And I think that it's important for all of us to recognize that we offer unique value to our communities, supporting broader civic goals and contributing to wider ranging community impacts. But to meet the challenges and the opportunities of the 21st century, public library transformation is absolutely essential, requiring thoughtful and innovative strategies to successfully lead an organization through change. So, to get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the city that our library serves. Toronto is one of the most dynamic cities in the world. With what has been a booming economy, a growing tech sector, and an educated workforce, we are Canada's leading economic engine and global leader in technology, culture, and innovation. We have tremendous cultural diversity in Toronto, you may have heard about that, and access to healthcare, education, and social services make Toronto one of the best cities to live in. But along with these opportunities come a number of challenges, of course. The high cost of living, the lack of affordable housing, along with growing income inequality and poverty, these are widening gaps and divides in our city. There's an increase in extreme weather, and I was just telling Bruno, we're supposed to have weather right now of about 17 to 20 degrees, and now they're predicting snow on Friday. So we're actually living the extreme weather problems we're having. There's less job security, more traffic congestion, and despite living in a hyper-connected world, many Torontonians are feeling more isolated than ever before, and this was true even before the COVID-19 pandemic. Toronto's library is uniquely positioned to help our city address many of these challenges and to seize many of the opportunities. At the same time, we recognize that we must continue to innovate and modernize our services and transform our organization to meet our customers and our city's needs. So when I think about transformation and the change journey that libraries are on, I realized that while the internet was a huge catalyst in change globally, it was also a really significant turning point for all of us. It was an impetus for change in libraries, offering challenges for sure, but it also opened up a whole world of opportunity for us. And as next generation technologies and trends have grown with social media and artificial intelligence and big data and more, so too have grown our opportunities for even greater relevance and value for our cities and our customers. Now this, of course, is not the traditional line of thinking. I think we've all heard about all sorts of predictions about libraries becoming irrelevant and our physical infrastructure unnecessary and traditional books no longer wanted. But in fact, just the opposite has happened. At TPL, we have 18 million visits to our 100 branches annually. And while the growth in borrowing ebooks and other e-content has been exponential, physical items such as traditional books are still hugely popular. But while the internet and all things digital have been catalysts for change at the library, I think it's really important to recognize this is not about the technology itself, but the ways in which it has fundamentally altered the wants and needs of the people we serve, the individuals and communities in Toronto and the city itself. In fact, the real catalysts for transformation are and should be the outcomes we must focus on achieving for our customers. And we've summed up those outcomes in 3 words: success, resilience, and well-being. And it's these outcomes that we're focused on delivering for Torontonians, and that's also driving our transformation. And in our current context, these are going to be more important than ever. So our guidebook for transformation and change as we move forward is our strategic plan. And the title of that plan is Vital to Toronto, Building Success, Resilience, and Well-Being for Our City. And it speaks, as I was saying, to the 3 significant outcomes we've set out to achieve. So Toronto Public Library has the vital active ingredients to help Torontonians thrive in our city. And this goes beyond people and programs and our services and resources. We uniquely serve our city and its residents by creating value through the experiences that are accessible. We're free and local, reaching and serving people where they live and tailoring our services to their needs. We're inclusive, we're supportive and welcoming to all. We're expert, we have knowledgeable staff who are trusted and credible and neutral. And we're flexible. Our services are personalized so people can use us where, when, and how they like. And I think it's important to recognize that our strengths aren't that we are not in fact just one institution. In Toronto, we have 100 branches. So what I always say is that we're situated in 100 different neighborhoods across the city, and we act as a community cornerstone, reflecting the perspectives and the passions of the people we serve. So we're not just one institution, we're actually 100 institutions across the city. So why the library? Well, one thing I always tell people is that there is no other public institution that has the mandate and reach, physical and technical infrastructure, talent and community presence to empower Torontonians the way we do. At the core of our strategic plan, there are 5 priorities, and they're on your screen there. And so it's about opening up our public space, broadening Toronto's digital access and inclusion, building pathways for workforce development, providing the vital ingredients for a democratic society, and investing staff and an innovative service culture. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about these 5 priorities as we move through this presentation. And the other thing I'm going to be talking about is that we're making a big commitment to focus on equity in everything that we do, to understand and break down barriers to access and create and increase inclusion. Because despite living in one of Canada's wealthiest and fastest growing cities, not all residents have equal access to the economic, educational, health, and civic opportunities that are so critical to succeed and thrive in our city. And we've seen this amplified and made even more visible with the pandemic. Actually, the pandemic has highlighted all of these areas of divides, of unequal access. So we're committed to helping level the playing field for all Torontonians, with a particular focus on equity-seeking groups and vulnerable populations. And we're working to understand and break down barriers to access, and increase inclusion to ensure that everyone who wants to use the library feels welcome and represented in our spaces and is able to access our services and can benefit from the outcomes we're driving to achieve. And also fundamental to our plan are what we call enablers. And you can see there are 3 icons at the bottom of the screen. And those are the enablers that we've identified. And they're important for the transformation agenda as well. So those are strategic partnerships, modernization, and a framework for evaluation and accountability. So the question is, how will this plan drive the library's transformation so we can help make Toronto successful, resilient, and well? Well, the first thing I'll talk about is our first priority, and that's public space. Toronto's population and urban density are increasing. We heard in our public consultation that many Torontonians don't have easy access to free public space that is comfortable and welcoming, where they can work, relax, and come together with others in the community. And as a result, many Torontonians are experiencing feelings of social isolation and a lack of community connection, and feel less empowered to engage in community conversations and decision making. And I think this is true of many people who live in large urban environments. With social, economic, climate, and technological disruptions, people need public spaces that foster community resilience and act as a place of refuge. And we've heard even more about that through this whole pandemic crisis. The dearth of opportunities for meaningful connections is adversely affecting personal well-being and civic involvement and community engagement and overall social cohesion. all important ingredients for a healthy, successful 21st century urban community. And so we're going to be focused on opening up our public spaces and creating and animating accessible, inclusive spaces that are flexible and sustainable and which will inspire people to be and grow together. And of course, welcoming public space is something we've always offered, but the different ways our customers expect to use our spaces in our branches and online and seamlessly moving between the online and physical environment is driving our transformation. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, making those spaces healthy and accessible is just another part of the challenge that we need to address. Like many institutions, public libraries are transforming their public space, renovating and designing to create a wow factor and flexible space to support many different uses and to anticipate changing services in the future. So there's wireless technology everywhere, bookshelves on wheels, and distinctive areas that reflect the way people live their lives. And increasingly, with that transformation, public libraries function as a third place, a home away from home, often referred to as our urban living room and home offices. And so it's really important to have beautiful, welcoming, and safe public space which revitalizes neighborhoods and providing the resources people need to participate in the 21st century world we live in, all critical to public library transformation. So right now, all of our 100 branches are closed to the public, but our digital spaces are open. Like so many libraries, we've pivoted a number of our services to these online spaces. And as we reopen our branches, and I understand you're in the process of doing that in Portugal, we will be focusing our efforts on the phased reinstatement of library services and how we adapt our physical spaces to ensure the safety and well-being of our staff and customers was being our top priority. But at the same time, we will be building on the transformation of our digital spaces, which has been really accelerated during the COVID-19 crisis. I know that's been true here. I assume that's probably true in Europe and places like Portugal as well. We see these transformations to our services as strategic and long-term, and as we all adapt to what we will now be looking at as the new normal, whatever that may be. So another area of focus for the library is helping people survive and thrive through ongoing digital disruption. And in our digital world, access to technology and skills to navigate and use it are critical for all of us to be successful, connected, and well. So today, technology and the internet are available, but they can be expensive, and ways to understand and use them are not always easy to access. And as a result, there continues to be a digital divide in our city, which makes it difficult for many residents to live their day-to-day lives and access opportunities and contribute to Toronto's success. And as I said earlier, the COVID-19 crisis has brought all of this issue into stark relief, as reliance on the internet and technology has become a must-have for economic, social, and educational survival during this time. This past month, the City of Toronto announced a new partnership with technology and telecom companies to provide free, temporary internet access for some of our city's most vulnerable communities, including those in lower-income neighborhoods and city-operated shelters and seniors in long-term care homes. And this is, I think, a really important city initiative that recognizes that what we've been talking about for a long time, about how important it is to address the digital divide so that more residents can connect to online access for social supports and vital services that are more critical than ever during this pandemic, from receiving public health information to accessing public pandemic support services and emergency income supports. And it will help many more people stay connected with loved ones as we all continue to practice physical distancing during this difficult time. But what's not clear is if these temporary supports will become permanent after the pandemic. So there's still so much work to be done, because my concern is, and I expect is, that these are all temporary measures that will not remain in place once the crisis has been identified as being past the crisis. So libraries remain critical to providing access not just to the internet, but to the technology and digital literacy supports that are so vital to our communities. And this is the important work we're committed to continuing throughout the life of our new strategic plan, broadening digital access and inclusion for all Torontonians, and expanding the opportunity for everyone to access technology and develop the skills to use it and to really thrive in the digital world. And this is such a critical and central role that public libraries play today, and really a huge part of our transformation. Access to information and pathways to education, they were the great equalizers of the 20th century and are the foundations for lifelong success. But in today's environment, in the 21st century, they are increasingly dependent on access to online services and networks, and an understanding and comfort with current and emerging technologies. So what I always say is, while access to information and education are critical, in the 21st century, access to technology is just as important. No one can be successful in today's world unless they have access to technology. So it's really not surprising that a huge part of the transformation of modern-day public library service is about providing access to new and emerging technologies, providing access to information, teaching digital literacy and with coding and STEM classes, bridging the digital divide, and providing the connectivity vital to today's social and economic success. And this, of course, also increases our relevance and our value in the information age and knowledge economy, making sure no one gets left behind. And I think that's an important thing to be thinking about and talking about to political leaders, to our stakeholders, to our residents. We want to make sure that no one gets left behind. So tied very closely to the opportunities and challenges created by digital disruption is the changing workforce and the economy, and the changing nature of the way we work, when we work, and the jobs we do. And many of us are moving between different roles and industries throughout our careers, and the need for reskilling and upskilling is rising. And with these changes, people have limited time and resources to devote to exploring and developing their personal and professional well-being. People of all ages need flexible ways to access tools to develop new skills while navigating their education, work, and life transitions. And this access isn't critical for us to reach our full potential. It is critical, and contribute to the success of the city. And now we have this increased uncertainty of how our economies and workforces are going to transition from this pandemic crisis, and what's going to be needed for our businesses and workers to recover and prosper in the economy. And so a big focus for libraries is to help build pathways to workforce development, to empower our customers to succeed in a changing workforce and a changing economy. More than ever, libraries are going to need to be nimble. We're going to need to be responsive to the needs of our cities and communities, and to help them build success and resilience through what is sure to be difficult times ahead for our workforces. Libraries have always offered career and job search supports for many, many years, help with resume writing and access to job sites, and a broad range of resources and collections for study and skills development. But our customers' changing needs and expectations are driving our need to innovate. So, as I said, certainly technology is a driver, but also the ways people are living and working require us to really think differently about not only what services we need to offer, but also the ways in which we offer them. And, e-learning is something that we all are offering, and it's a significant way we offer flexible, self-directed, and convenient workforce development services with free access to online e-learning resources such as lynda.com and Gale being some of Toronto's most popular services. But we know that people learn in different ways, and studies show that in-person learning combined with e-learning is much more effective. So we offer in-branch learning and study opportunities in conjunction with our online learning. For example, we offer learning circles, and these can be online learning circles as well. And these are study groups guided by our staff for people who want to take a free online course together in a welcoming space. And so we have the Cisco Let's Learn Tech Learning Circles. They meet twice per week and work together as they work through the material of Cisco Network Academy courses. So instead of doing it online, you can choose to do it online, but you can also choose to do it with a group of others and with someone leading those sessions to help facilitate the learning experience. We also have an entrepreneur in residence program. It's another learning opportunity and a networking model which offers help and support for small businesses, and we offer that with workshops, seminars, and one-on-one consultations. And to further expand our reach and convenience, we have community librarians who work on site at city employment offices. These are offices where people are seeking employment and they're on subsidized wages, going to where customers need us to be rather than requiring our customers to come to us for the services. And these efforts and opportunities, they're not just beneficial to the individual. People have to understand this helps bridge the digital divide. It expands Toronto's knowledge, skills, and networks, and engages learners and workers of all ages so that all Torontonians have the opportunity to reach their potential and contribute not just to their individual success, but to the success of the city overall. So I'm going to move on to our next priority, which is about a democratic society. And I feel very strongly about this priority. In Toronto and in the larger world around us, we are seeing an increasing divide politically, economically, and socially. There's an overwhelming amount of information available to us, and at the same time, not everyone has equal access to it or the ability to really critically assess that information. So to meaningfully participate in the life of our city, people need to access a broad range of information and ideas, as well as opportunities for open, uncensored discourse to hear, debate, and learn from each other's experiences. And so we're going to provide and protect the vital ingredients necessary for a democratic society. And we will facilitate and defend access to information and information literacy and empower everyone to engage in civic life. And the role of the library as facilitator and defender of democratic values is, of course, nothing new, but its importance and our profile have increased as a result of the challenges and divisions we're seeing in society today. In the not-so-distant past, the job of libraries was to support and defend intellectual freedom, and that meant that making books freely available to all. But in the 21st century, this job is much more complex. Take, for example, the threat of artificial intelligence to information access. Its machine learning algorithms not only shape our online experiences, but act as gatekeepers to the information we see and what's hidden from us, often with a bias that's invisible to the digitally illiterate. And in response to this, what we've done at the library is we've expanded our digital literacy offerings to include algorithmic literacy classes and programs and courses which teach how algorithms shape digital privacy, how that shapes our online experiences and access to information. Public libraries are a trusted community resources, so I really believe we are ideally placed to give judgment-free guidance on the evolving complexity of digital environments. And we're also seeing restrictions on equitable access to content and information with ebooks and other popular digital content. And in the past 2 years, TPL, we've been the busiest public library in the world in the circulation of our e-content with Overdrive, which is our main platform for ebooks and e-audiobooks. And we've had over 6 million e-items borrowed in 2019. And like so many libraries during the pandemic, we've seen that demand grow tremendously as free access to physical books has all but disappeared. But even as we come back from the virus, as our branches reopen and physical circulation of our materials resume, we really don't expect demand for e-content to level off anytime soon. And we've seen many publishers step up during the COVID-19 crisis to ease restrictions on e-content here in North America. But the high prices and restrictive licensing models are still a reality for North American libraries, and this is limiting access, often to the most vulnerable and needy in our communities. And so we've undertaken a leadership role in addressing these barriers to access, and we've been working with the Urban Libraries Council, which is headquartered in Washington, D.C., and the Canadian Urban Libraries Council here in Canada. We are taking a multifaceted advocacy approach to really raise awareness on the issue and apply pressure to the publishers. And while our activities have generated awareness and a good deal of media attention, I have to say, unfortunately, we've really seen no significant movement of publishers on this important issue. The other thing I want to talk about in terms of civic government and engagement is that access to information and information literacy are critical to a democracy. And at the library here in Toronto, we talk about the library as a kind of civic commons, where people may come together as Torontonians, but also they come together as global citizens to discuss and debate issues that are important to the larger world. But it seems today that we've forgotten how to disagree with one another, how to engage in polite and civil debate. And this is especially problematic given the polarizing times we live in. And we see a need to create opportunities for people to get out of their bubbles, to come together with others who have differing views and opinions and have civil conversations and debate around our society's most pressing issues and ideas, local, regional, national, and international. So what we did was we created a new series for our library programming called On Civil Society. And it's a really major initiative which aims at positioning the library both in our branches and in our digital spaces as a platform where issues can be discussed and openly debated without judgment. Here's another innovative initiative we created to support and engage citizenship, and it's called Know Your Vote TO. So to address the voter turnout in education for Toronto's 2018 municipal election, we created this website. And it's Canada's first library website that allows voters to easily find their ward and candidate information without compromising their privacy. So it's a simple, visual, and neutral spot where explanations of the biggest issues facing the city are provided, and it provides really essential context for voters. And we also provided programs and workshops hosted by library staff, excuse me, which helped residents discuss and explore these issues more deeply. Excuse me. We also made the source code for the website available to libraries as open source, so the library community could take it and adapt it to their own needs. So the site garnered more than 23,000 distinct users in the month before Election Day, and the site was recognized by media and candidates as an authoritative information source with 72% of our candidates submitting responses. And this is really positive recognition that demonstrated that the library can strengthen local civic engagement without the perception of partisanship or bias. So moving on to the next priority, public service organizations, and I'm sure this is true for all of you, we are all operating with an increasingly complex and diverse urban environment with digital disruption, shifting demographics, and constant change, creating both opportunities and challenges. And I think, of course, the whole, we can add the pandemic to that list of disruptors. And this, combined with Toronto's growing economic, digital, and social divides, is changing the kinds of services public service organizations offer and how we offer them, and how their staff need to be trained and supported to deliver them. And so it's really critical that we invest in our staff and in an innovative service culture so that our staff have the knowledge and tools they need to adapt and change and deliver exceptional customer experiences. And central to the success of our ongoing transformation is our staff. And I think this is really important to talk a bit about, because their staff and their ability to embrace the change is important in the whole transformation journey. And so we've introduced several initiatives to support the staff. So for example, at we have staff innovation fairs, which are just for our staff. And at some of them we've had speakers from places like Google. We've had a virtual reality content developer and a 3D printing pro come and describe the latest trends to our staff. We also have a staff innovation program that provides an opportunity for staff to pitch ideas to improve services at the library. So we started with this with a call out to the staff and asked them to submit innovation project ideas. And for the first round, we had over 70 submissions, and a committee selected 6 finalists, and they were given the time and the resources to further develop their projects. And then in 2017, we established an innovation incubator at TPL. And this incubator has 2 staff in it, and they work on digitally focused incubator projects and also on the development of our first staff innovation strategy. And pictured here on the right, on this screen, is a group of staff in consultation with our incubator staff, and that helps shape the strategy for our innovation. And at the same time we launched our staff innovation program, we also launched a broad and really deep discussion with our staff about the changing role of librarians in the 21st century. I don't know if this is true in Portugal, but in Canada, many of our librarian staff are long-term staff, and some staff have really made a good transition to the new 21st century environment, and others are still having difficulty and are really, I would say, stuck into kind of traditional thinking about libraries and librarianship. So the objectives were challenging. It was to but clear. We were to develop a vision for the future role of librarianship at Toronto Public Library, and that future role would maximize the values and the traditional skills of librarians by enabling them to undertake more complex and in-depth work. So this has resulted in the development of a professional development curriculum that has become compulsory. So all of our librarians have to complete 6 courses annually, and it has to be reflected in their performance plan and their performance review. And these are compulsory programs in 5 different categories that they have to complete every year. Another really foundational support we found that we needed to introduce in order to make change happen and to transform was to establish a change management office. And this office has formalized and operationalized the art and science of change. And there are 2 key programs that we've developed from this office that has been really helpful for us and supported our staff. The first is a program comprised of a multi-day commitment for staff, starting with managers and then cascading to supervisory and senior levels of staff in the branches. And so this is a change management program, multi-day program that all these people have taken. The second is for our management group, and it's a leadership development program, which is a 1-day session 4 times a year, and it covers different aspects of leadership such as emotional intelligence, coaching, teamwork, and political acuity. So those are all of our priorities. I just kind of gave you a very high-level overview of what we think about these priorities, why we think they're important, and what we're planning to do with these. And so now I just want to talk a little bit about the enablers that are driving foundational change to support these priorities. So as I said earlier, these are partnerships, modernization, evaluation, and accountability, and they're critical to the success of our plan and ongoing transformation. So our network of partnerships across the city helps us increase the quality and the impact of our programs and services to reach Torontonians wherever they're needed. And in fact, I cannot imagine we could achieve what we're able to achieve if it wasn't for all of the tremendous partnerships we have. And I'm sure that must be true of your libraries as well. So these partnerships are large, some are small, some are very local community groups, and then we also have multinational technology companies that we're partnered with. We also have partners with innovators in residence, and with we have an Indigenous Advisory Council that is an important part of our partnership framework that helps guide us in the development of our services. And we're continuously improving our capacity and work culture to provide welcoming, personalized, consistent, innovative service for Torontonians. So this is about modernization and building on our new brand, our customer experience strategy and digital strategy. And we're really committed to delivering exceptional customer services and experiences when, where, and how our customers want them. So no more of the static library service in a branch. We need to be online, we need to be out in the community, we need to be out working in partnership and in partners' offices and spaces. That's what we need to be doing in order to build on our modernization efforts. So our customer experience strategy is the work we undertook to advance the strategic priority of transforming 21st century service and to build on the great service our staff already provide. And that was an important part of the message with the staff. It's not saying that you're not providing, the service you're providing isn't good enough. It's just building on, and so that the service is even better. And the strategy supports our commitment to continuous improvement and to evolving to meet the customer needs and expectations. And what we heard through our strategic plan consultation was that our customers' needs and expectations are evolving. They're changing. And in essence, what they told us is they love what we do, but they don't always love how we do it. And that was kind of hard for some of our staff to hear, to be honest. So we undertook a process we called the TPL Experience 360, which was designed to dive deeper and to gain more insight into this feedback so we can understand it better. And so the questions we asked are, what does an exceptional customer experience look like? And how can we build upon and improve on all the great work we already do? And what's missing to make things better? And what we heard was that for great customer experiences, our customers are telling us that our services and spaces must be more visible, they must be more welcoming and personalized, and you can see the 6 areas on the screen. They have to be consistently deliver exceptional customer experiences, that we provide more ways for them to collaborate and engage with us at the library. And throughout our transformation, this is the 6th one, they said, remember to stay true to your roots. And so what we call these 6 categories is great experience activators. And we've been working with staff to communicate these outcomes and to develop strategies to help achieve them. And we're really just beginning this journey as part of our new strategic plan. And when we talk about transforming our customer experience, it's really also considering the transformation and the evolution of our brand. Libraries, public libraries have a great brand to begin with. And the customer experience and brand are intertwined. And I think it's important to think about that. Just think about the last great or even terrible customer experience you had and how it affected your perception of and the loyalty to that brand. So that's what we're talking about here, the intertwining of the customer experience and the brand. So this slide illustrates our brand framework here. I know there's a lot of information on this slide, but all I'll say about this, it really describes who we are, what we do, and why we matter, and how we do it. And it helps guide our business and strategic planning, ensuring that we stay focused on the unique value that the library delivers to the residents of Toronto. And it along with an inspirational call to action to staff and to customers, is about to activate something great. That's our call to action. Activate something great. And that has been a strong framework for us to build our strategic plan on. Also foundational to supporting the strategic plan is our digital strategy. And it's designed to provide focus on advancing our digital infrastructure and the customer experience and transforming our legacy technologies. And I have to tell you, and I'm sure this is true for you too, but the whole transformation of your legacy technologies, that's been a big challenge for us, both in terms of the actual transformation, technical transformation, but also in terms of the staff who work in IT, about their thinking and how they need to think differently. So the digital strategy is critical for us It's a communication tool for our staff as well as the public, and it really is about reaching the outcomes we've set out to achieve. So there are 4 key areas to focus to guide our approach to digital and technology goals, and about modernizing the customer experience and making us more nimble, responsive, and efficient through strategic partnerships and a transformed back-of-office infrastructure. Now, the last enabler I talked about was evaluation and accountability, and this is what this slide is about. So, consistent evaluation and reporting will ensure that we make decisions based on evidence, deliver on the outcomes that we're working towards, and continue to be transparent and accountable to Torontonians. And this is an ongoing process, and we will adjust our direction where it's needed. So, this brings me to the end of my presentation. I really, I know it's a lot of information, but you have my slides, and I hope that what I've been able to do is give you a better understanding of what we're doing at Toronto Public Library to transform our services, and the leadership and the thinking that I think is really needed to manage the change, because it's massive change that we're undertaking. And so to sum up, our transformation has been driven by 3 key catalysts that, while influenced by technology, represent broader needs and trends in our city and in society as a whole. And I believe very strongly that successful transformation and change requires thoughtful and innovative management strategies to successfully lead an organization through change. And lastly, I will say that any transformation requires you to be true to your core vision and mission, and delivering value and relevance to your customers. So that's it. That's the end of my presentation, and now I'd really welcome any questions
very much,
or
Vickery,
comments or thoughts you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vickery, for this. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I just get out of the internet connection for a moment, sorry. Thank you very much for this great presentation, inspiring, concrete, and with a lot of interesting ideas that I don't know if you can imagine, but with the difference between Canada and Portugal, and Toronto, a big city, a very urban city, and most of the small cities and small villages in Portugal, we have different backgrounds, but of course the same challenges. I just write one of the things that I find most interesting is with all these ideas and projects, and with a lot of background and not seeing work that you and your team done for the last years. But when you talk that the most challenging topic that you have is about a very traditional thinking on the role of the librarian, and it's probably, besides of course another challenges that we have in Portugal, about one of our most challenging topics also. It's about the traditional thinking about the role and the action of the librarian and on the library, on the society, specifically during this pandemic situation.
Yes.
But very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing.
My pleasure.
Now we are entering the question part of the webinar, so I will change to Portuguese, Vickery, okay?
Yes, certainly.
Ok. Está aberto, como habitualmente, aqui o nosso período de perguntas. Se alguém quiser colocar alguma questão à Vickery sobre a apresentação, sobre algum assunto que gostassem de ver mais esclarecido. Vickery, I will put the chat board on the center of the screen in order for you to see also some of the questions. So the first one is from Margarida. She asks about the TPL team's composition. Do you have most librarians on your staff, or do you have with another background of formation? She said that, of course, probably you have not only librarians, but of course also who are these professionals. How is the constitution of your team?
The composition of the staff. Well, we're a unionized environment. I'll just say that to begin with. We have about 2,300 people, which I know is very big. We have 100 branches. The population of Toronto is almost 3 million. But anyway, we have 2,300 people, and about 480 to 490 are librarians. The rest are, clericals and IT and HR and all those different things. But we have about, in public service, serving the public directly in the branches, we have about 1,700 people.
Okay.
And 500, about almost 500 librarians.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question from Vitor. How TPL build a common ground between library educational system and new technologies? Probably referring to that challenge between giving access to information, but of course balance them with the educational services. How do you try to find a common ground between the library educational system and new technologies in TPL?
Well, teaching people how to use the technology is so important, and the digital literacy programs are so important. And we have our programming has really grown tremendously over the years. Information requests at a reference desk, those have declined tremendously. But our programs have really increased. And a lot of those programs are teaching people how to use technology, how to use educational supports that we have available through our technology, and find jobs and all that kind of thing using our technology. So a lot of programming, our programming has increased, has tripled, more than tripled over the past few years, both in terms of number of programs and number of people who attend those programs. And that's online and in branches. What will be challenging, of course, going forward is, how do we're not really sure how we're going to do the in-branch programming going forward. That's something we're still working out because it was so popular. So what do we do going forward? We don't have those answers yet, and we're working through that. But programming is really, really important as a part of teaching about the technology, privacy in the use of the technology, the way algorithms work, but also how do you find good information and assess it. And librarians have always done that. We've always helped people find information and look at the sources. What are the sources of this? Is it a reliable source? Well, the same is true, even more so in the digital age, where we see this wealth of information. I mean, social media alone provides a tremendous challenge for people to understand what is good information and what's not good information. And so there is so many opportunities for us as librarians and as library staff to really, really help the public navigate what is good and bad information, and what is this technology doing to my decision making or influencing my decision making. We saw that, not long ago with Facebook, all of the challenges it has faced with the way it's been allowed to manipulate information and the Facebook users. So these are all really important challenges for the 21st century, and the public library has a huge role in these areas.
Ok, thank you, Vickery. Se mais alguém quiser colocar alguma questão à Vickery, pode escrever. Se não quiser escrever em inglês, pode escrever em português e eu posso traduzir. Entretanto, enquanto vão pensando, vou colocando eu uma questão. Vickery, I was saying if they want to write the questions in Portuguese, they can, and I will translate it to you.
Perfect.
They are thinking probably in different, and another question. You said in your presentation that one of the other challenge areas that you work on is regarding training the public and giving competencies to users. Um, do you think that through your experience, it was hard to begin this work area with your staff? Rephrasing, do your staff feel that it was their job to train users on using technology, on using IT tools? Can you talk to us a little bit about that? It's related to the role of the librarian, not only
It is,
giving access to information.
yeah, it is related to the role of the librarian. It also goes back to, and this was, you know, what I said earlier about in the 20th century, education and access to information were the great equalizers, but in the 21st century, access to technology is just as important. Because no one, it used to be in the 20th century, if you don't have access to education, you don't have access to information, you can't be successful. And that's still true, of course. But in the 21st century, if you don't have access to technology, you cannot be successful. You have to have that access. We have stories, we have students from low-income neighborhoods, and when we close at night, they plead with our librarians when we close at 8:30, please don't close. I can't do my homework. I need to finish my homework, and I don't have internet access at home. They have a device, but they don't have internet access at home. I don't know if that's a problem in Portugal. It's a big problem
Yes,
in Canada.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's also
And
here.
so, yeah, and so what we did was we used to turn our Wi-Fi off at night, but now we keep it on. And they sit outside. And now through COVID-19, when we've been closed, people are sitting outside our branches, sitting in cars, using our Wi-Fi access because they don't have it at home. We have a Wi-Fi hotspot lending program to help with that. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is, it's always been our job to help equalize and provide people with the resources they need to be successful in their work, in their education, in their daily life, and also recreational resources as well. Well, in the 21st century, that includes technology, because we used to show people how to use the card catalog. We used to show people how to, go through indexes and whatnot. I mean, maybe some of you don't even remember that. I'm old enough to remember those things, but whatever. That's the new reality. People have to know how to use the technology, and there is no other public institution, and I said this in the presentation, that has the mandate and the reach. We've got branches throughout our neighborhoods. The mandate and the reach and the technology, and on top of that, we have trained staff who are professionals and who know how to use the technology. So what better institution is there to do this work? And when we started talking about our staff about that, some people embraced it automatically. Others who are more reluctant, they have come around, and it's been an important part of the discussion with the role of the librarian. So that's a very good question, but I really feel very strongly this is an important part of modern day public library service, and it really goes back to our core values of kind of leveling the playing field for everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree with you. Let's move forward. Let me see if there are other questions popping up the chat. Se alguém quiser colocar uma questão à Vickery, volto a repetir, podem fazê-lo em português e eu colocarei, depois farei a tradução. I suppose they are thinking on another good questions to ask
Yes.
you as they're thinking about that. And I don't want to extend the webinar very, very much more. But you talked about, if I understand correctly, about the council that you have of users that advise you on working on different areas, and they can measure and they can contribute with ideas. Is there a problem in a specific time or when discussing a specific topic when the group tried to, I'm going to use a strong word, try to force the library to do something that you don't think it was important? And is there a concern that you have when hearing the users about what libraries should do and how should we do it?
Well, all of that input is valuable, and I can't say we've had any input that was troubling to us. I mean, there have been times in the past, I'm going back probably about a decade, when we've had political people say, I don't think the library should be teaching how to use Microsoft Word, or, teaching people how to surf the internet or whatnot. But that was, because the politicians were thinking of libraries in an old sort of way. I think speaking for my situation, we've passed that. They get it now. We don't get those kinds of comments anymore. Certainly it's still challenging. Some people still thinking of the library in just about books, and books are still at the heart and soul of libraries, but it's just, that's far from everything. We offer so much more than that. And
Yeah.
I always say it's not just the everyday technology that we take for granted, like, printers and Wi-Fi, but it's also the emerging technology like, 3D printers and green screens and audio and video studios to make music videos and learn how to do those things, because people need to know how to use those things. They need to know how to use virtual reality and artificial intelligence and what is that all about. And people need to understand, because they're all part of the context of the world that they live in. And people need to understand that to be successful and to use it. And it will advance and help your community and the economy. And people will ask good questions about privacy and what does this technology mean for me? So we have an important role in these areas, I think.
Yeah, thank you. I agree totally. When I will make a final round for our groups. Anyone else have a question or want to comment the Vickery presentation? I think not. There are some of the colleagues writing something, but I think it's a lot of thank you for your presentation and for your sharing, Vickery.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Let me just, yeah, it's a lot of thank you. And I think it's probably when
So
all
nice.
of this COVID-19 pandemic are over, I think you can expect a trip of a lot of Portuguese librarians going to visit you in the Toronto Public
Lovely.
Library.
Well,
Because
if that's true,
your
then I would love
presentation,
to welcome you, and we can host you, and we can share some ideas and thoughts and experiences on site. And I've never been to Portugal, so I would love to visit your country someday.
we have to arrange this after the COVID-19
Yes.
pandemic. We can make some
Yes.
kind of interchange between Portugal and Canada.
That would be wonderful. We would love that. That's lovely.
I will just address to the participants, and then I can get back to you, Vickery.
Okay.
Se mais ninguém tiver perguntas para colocar à Vickery, eu agradecia naturalmente a vossa presença aqui esta tarde. Pedi ao favor de não se esquecerem de preencher o questionário de avaliação, que eu partilhei aqui o link no chat. Deem a vossa opinião, por favor, sobre o webinar de hoje e sugiram naturalmente outros temas. Se não há mais perguntas, eu vou só despedir-me e agradecer à Vickery a vossa presença e naturalmente também a presença aqui de todos os colegas. Vickery, it seems there is no more questions to you. Once again, thank you very, very much for your availability, for your sharing, for your time. Your most precious thing that we have nowadays, it's our time.
Yes.
and it was, of course, very different from most of the Portuguese libraries. But even so, a lot of the ideas that you share here today, we have discussed it in meetings, in conferences that you organize. And I think that the most important of all the knowledge that we share with us and your expertise is the importance for the library to connect to the community, to be aware of the needs of the community, and to reinforce the role of the library and the librarian in order to manage the information and the technology needs of the community. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. We will probably get contact later about that trip between Lisbon and Toronto.
Yes, wonderful.
And we keep in touch, Vickery. Thank you so much for being with us
Well,
this
thank
afternoon.
you. It was just delightful. It was my pleasure. I enjoyed talking with all of you, and I appreciate all of your assistance, Bruno. You made it very easy for me. Thank you.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Vickery. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Obrigado a todos. Encontramos aqui no próximo webinar da RNBP. Vejam o nosso site, consultem as nossas próximas sessões. Muito obrigado por terem estado connosco esta tarde. Não se esqueçam, por favor, de preencher o nosso questionário de avaliação. Muito obrigado a todos. Continuação de uma boa tarde. Bom trabalho.